What's up, y'all? This is SYN-Q. I'm coming at you with another lesson in counter-racism science today. Before we get into the title of this video, I'd like to let you know that this lesson comes to you from the United Independent Compensatory Code system concept, which is a textbook workbook for thought, speech, or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. That means if you consider yourself a victim of racism, white supremacy, you should get a hold of this book. Okay? Another one that you should get a hold of is the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Excuse me. Both books are written by victims of racism, white supremacy, for victims of racism, white supremacy. That is to help you learn how to resist the system of racism, white supremacy. Because there's two reactions. There's based on the code, United Independent Compensatory Code, it says that there are two basic reactions to racism, white supremacy. One is cooperation with. So you are victimized by racism, white supremacy, and your reaction is to either cooperate with it, that's number one, or your reaction is to resist it. Okay? For centuries, our people have been victims of white supremacy, and the majority of the time we have reacted with cooperation. We've made many attempts at resistance. Huge numbers of people that many victims of white supremacy consider to be so-called leaders. I just consider them to be counter-racists or attempted counter-racists, have attempted to resist the system of white supremacy. And some of their efforts have helped many of us gain some insight into resistance and what that is, or what that means. So before we get into the title, or the reason why I titled the video, I am not proud to be black, I just want to read to you a quote from the author of the code, Neely Fuller Jr. A couple of quotes, actually. 3 to be exact. The first quote is, and these are based on observations that Mr. Fuller has made of the system of white supremacy. In fact, most of you who are using the words that you use these days, you're using the term the system of racism, white supremacy. That is a codified term that comes from the United Independent Compensatory Code system concept. I'd like to say, or I'd like to believe that 10 years ago when I first started making these videos and I was quoting the code, and also not to mention all of the different people around the country that I've sent code books to, have helped, and plus the other codified people that I've talked to have helped with spreading these codified terms. So we're using the words racism and white supremacy together so that we can describe exactly what kind of racism we're talking about. We make it stick. We keep it from bouncing around and going to so-called black racism or Mexican racism or Japanese racism or black supremacy, yellow supremacy, or brown supremacy. All ideas that are not realities. They are only ideas. They don't determine how you function in this system. The system of racism, white supremacy determines how you function in this system. So, from Mr. Fuller's observation, he states, if you do not understand white supremacy racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Well, I agree with this because I have been doing a lot of studying of the system of racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works. I was doing that way before I ever met Mr. Fuller or before I even came into contact with his book. But the code book allowed me to put words or add words to things that I saw that I could describe, but I just didn't have the words to get straight to the point. So the code allows you to do that. So the more that I've studied and the more I've researched, the more I have found the global system of racism, white supremacy to be very confusing. Okay? Very, very confusing to me, and I have seen the confusion in other victims of white supremacy. And I say to you that this is done on purpose. This is done on purpose to continue to keep up the confusion so that you can't really pin down who the actual racist white supremacists are. Okay? So that's the first quote. The second quote is, as long as racism, white supremacy exists, the only people in the known universe who are experts on the practice of racism are the racist white supremacists themselves. They're the only experts. Only they know how to practice white supremacy. We can speak of, we can describe the symptoms that we're going through. We can describe our victimization process, but that does not describe the mental state or the mindset of a racist white supremacist. What we can do is, based on their behavior, based on the behavior that we've experienced, come up with some way to counter what's going on with them. Like, their tools, the two major tools that they use are deception and violence. Deception is the first tool. Violence is the second tool. The next quote is, the seeds of the destruction of racism, white supremacy are implanted in the very existence of racism itself. This is my primary, one of my primary, I can't say my primary, because my ultimate objective is to replace racism, white supremacy with justice. And as a part of that objective, I want to help bring about an effective number of people, non-white people, black people in particular, to nullify racism, white supremacy. That is eliminated. That's one of my objectives. But in that process, I know that the seeds to the destruction of the system are within the system. So I'm on my search. I'm looking for those seeds. So now, before I get into the title, all of my videos are attempts to solve the race problem. Many of you may look at them and say, oh man, that's, that video is boo-boo. It's, it's whack. It's boring. And so, if you have any input, please tell me something in the comments. Give me some input in the comments, or shoot me an email to counterracismnow@gmail.com. That's counterracismnow@gmail.com. Shoot me an email with some suggestions or some ideas for how you think I could do or be more constructive. Whatever suggestions you might have, and I will consider them. But for those of you who are critical and who are not attempting to solve the race problem, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to solve the race problem, whether it's a bad attempt or the incorrect attempt or correct attempt. Either way it goes, I am making the attempt. I'm making the effort. So to you I say, the race problem has not been solved. The reason the race problem has not been solved is because the people who have the ability to solve it do not have the will. And the people who have the will do not have the ability. So to the extent that I'm lacking in either the will or the ability to solve the race problem, I apologize. Do you hear me? To the extent that I am lacking in the will or the ability to solve the race problem, I apologize. Okay, now on to the title. I am not proud to be black. And I'm not proud to be black because I agree with the suggestion that Mr. Fuller makes, who Mr. Fuller is almost 90 years old, by the way. But I agree with the suggestion that he makes on page 171 of the United Independent Compensatory Code system concept. Being black should have nothing to do with being proud. And being proud should have nothing to do with being black. Saying that you are proud and or bragging about being black serves no constructive purpose. A person is black and or appears to be black or dark because he or she was produced that way. It is not necessary to be proud to be black. It is not necessary to be proud to be anything. It is necessary, however, to seek truth and to use truth to produce justice and correctness in order to have peace. It is not necessary to be proud of producing peace. Producing peace is the correct reason for the existence of people in the known universe that has no peace. People should produce peace because it is their duty. I'm looking forward to producing peace because it's my duty. A person should not do his or her duty in order to develop pride. A person should do his or her duty because it needs to be done. I agree with that. We need peace because we need peace. One should promote peace. One should do whatever they can to establish peace, and not by any means necessary. Having war or making war or committing violence to have peace is incorrect behavior. Now, if you're meeting violence with counter violence, so if someone is attacking you, you know, if you're having a calm day, you're not doing anything, and someone is attacking you, and you defend yourself, you fight them back to stop them from attacking you, to get them to stop attacking you, and they stop attacking you, and now you've stopped attacking them, you now have peace. It may be a temporary moment of peace because, or it actually is a temporary moment of peace because there is no peace in this world. There's just too much conflict and violence going on. You find places where you can have temporary peace, but it's just temporary. And what we should be working to do is establishing permanent peace. And it's a white supremacist concept and idea to believe that you have to commit violence in order to establish peace. But it is our duty. It's my duty to make peace. It's my duty to establish peace. And I don't need to be proud to do that. And I should not be proud of anything at all. Nothing. And I'm definitely not proud of my skin color or the hair that I have, the bald head that I'm starting to get. These are things that I had no control over. I had no control over these things. I was produced this way. My creator created me this way. That's nothing to be proud of. It's just something that happened. I mean, just follow the logic on that for a minute. Makes no sense at all, does it? If it makes sense to you, if you think that you should still be proud after watching this video, what can I say? In my opinion, you have a whole lot more thinking to do. This is SYN-Q. Stay strong in the struggle to replace racism, white supremacy with a system of justice.